I used to think marriages fell apart loudly. Shouting, slammed doors, broken glass, dramatic walks into the night. Mine didn't. Mine dissolved quietly, like a rope fraying thread by thread while I kept pretending it was still strong. My name is Cole Mercer, and for almost 5 years, I thought I'd built something solid with my wife, Lila Mercer. We lived a simple routine. Weekday commutes, Sunday grocery trips, late-night movies when neither of us had the energy to talk about our day. On the surface, it looked stable, even warm, but sometimes warmth hides a fire burning through the foundation. The shift began months earlier, subtle enough that I kept second-guessing myself. Lila started guarding her phone like it held state secrets. She showered with it, slept with it under her pillow. She used to leave it charging on the nightstand. Now it never left her hand. And her laugh. God, her laugh changed. She used to laugh with me. Now she laughed at her phone, shoulders shaking, face glowing the way she used to glow when we first met. I'd ask what was funny, and she'd give me a casual, dismissive, "Oh, just a meme." But memes don't make someone smile like they're falling in love. I tried telling myself I was overthinking. Stress at work, exhaustion, both of us drifting into autopilot. Relationships hit rough patches all the time. But the truth was quieter, sharper, and it waited for me in the small spaces of our life. There were days Lila came home smelling of cologne she didn't wear, blaming it on crowded elevators or coworkers hugging her. She started staying late at the office, and when I'd offer to pick her up, she declined too quickly. Still, I swallowed my doubt. I wanted to believe her. I wanted us to work. I wanted to think love was enough. Then came the night that set everything in motion. It was a Thursday. She claimed she was exhausted, said she needed an early night, and slipped into bed without even kissing my cheek. I lay awake beside her, staring at the ceiling, listening to the shallow rhythm of her breathing. Around 2 a.m., her phone buzzed. Just once. But it was enough. Lila didn't stir. She'd always slept like a stone. I leaned over, not to snoop, not to violate trust, but because something inside me whispered, look, not for answers, for truth. The notification lit up the screen. A name I didn't recognize. A message that shattered me. Did you make it home safe? I miss you already. I stared so long my eyes stung. My pulse hammered in my ears. My mind raced to denial. Wrong number, coworker, misunderstanding, anything that wasn't the obvious. But the truth always knocks twice. Because below it was another one. Same time next week? My throat went tight. My chest burned. I swallowed hard. My heart splitting between fury and heartbreak. I didn't wake her. I didn't confront her. Instead, I whispered inside my own skull. If she's cheating, find the whole truth, not just the pieces. And so began the longest, coldest week of my life. I followed the patterns. Her schedule. The lies disguised as routines. She wasn't going on late work meetings. She was slipping into a different life behind my back. Every day built a clearer picture of betrayal. But the twist? The real storm didn't come from Lila. It came from the unexpected knock on my hotel door the night everything snapped. A woman stood there, mid-30s, sharp eyes, determination carved into her expression. She introduced herself with a deep, steady breath. "I'm Danielle Hart. My husband is the man your wife's been seeing." My heart lurched. Before I could respond, she held out her phone. There, in full color, was my wife, laughing, leaning into a man I'd never met, grabbing his hand like it belonged to her. The betrayal I suspected became undeniable. But what Danielle said next made my stomach twist into a knot. "I'm not here to cause a scene. I'm here because I think we need each other." Her voice didn't shake. Mine almost did. Before that moment, I thought I'd already hit rock bottom. But rock bottom has a basement. And revenge, when it starts simmering in silence, can burn hotter than heartbreak. Danielle didn't come inside at first. She just stood there in the doorway of the hotel hallway with that icy calm people get when their heart has been shattered so completely that tears can't even find a way out. I stepped back and let her enter, unsure if I should offer her water or space or simply silence. My own chest felt tight, like someone had their hand wrapped around my ribcage. She walked in, glanced around, then slowly turned toward me. "Cole, I know this feels like the floor just dropped under you," she said quietly. "But I need you to hear me before you shut down." Her voice carried a strange mix of strength and exhaustion that made my throat sting. I nodded and tried to steady my breathing. She opened her phone again and slid it across the table toward me. This isn't the first time, she whispered. The screen showed timestamps, weeks, even months, photos from restaurants, hotel lobbies, parking lots. Grant laughing. Lila smiling with that same glow I hadn't seen directed at me in months. The kind of smile people give to someone who makes their pulse race. My hands shook so hard I had to brace them on the edge of the table. How long have you known? I whispered. For months, she said. I tried confronting Grant the first time I found a photo. He swore it was nothing. I wanted to believe him. She let out a shaky breath. You know how you can sleep next to someone for years and still not see how far they've drifted? I didn't answer. I didn't trust my voice. She sank into the chair across from me. I kept hoping I was wrong. But then, your wife started showing up in the background of his messages. Her perfume on his jacket. Their late-night work calls. I'm not stupid, Cole. But I didn't have proof. Not enough to end a marriage. I swallowed hard. And now, she said, meeting my eyes, they're on a trip together in Aspen. A romantic weekend getaway. And my husband told me he was at a business conference. My breath hitched. Aspen. A trip. A lie I hadn't even been given yet. My entire stomach dropped. She looked up at me, eyes burning with hurt and clarity. I'm done crying, Cole. And I'm done begging for honesty. That's why I'm here. Because if they want to play games, we don't have to stay on the sidelines. Her words hit me like cold water. Not revenge out of rage. Revenge out of dignity. She pushed her phone toward me again, displaying one last photo. Grant and Lila in an airport terminal, boarding passes in hand, leaning on each other like newlyweds. You deserve to know the whole truth, she said. I sat down slowly, feeling the weight of 5 years pressing down on my spine. My marriage wasn't broken. It was abandoned. While I was trying to keep the pieces together, Lila had already started decorating a separate life. I stared at the floor, voice barely a whisper. I should have seen it. No, Danielle said, leaning forward with surprising tenderness. You trusted her. That's not a weakness. I laughed under my breath, a bitter, sharp sound. Feels like one. She didn't respond. She simply let the silence settle between us until my breathing slowed. Then she said, almost hesitantly, Cole, I want to ask you something, and you don't have to agree. But, she paused. I think the two of us can handle this better if we're in it together. I looked at her, confused. What do you mean? She took a deep breath. They're together right now, on a trip they think we don't know about. And when they come back, they'll feed us lies, softened, rehearse lies, because that's what cheaters do. They rehearse. Her voice hardened. But what if we don't wait for the lies? What if we get ahead of them? The idea didn't sink in at first. I could barely process standing, let alone strategizing. But something inside me, the part that had been silently cracking under months of suspicion, began to stir. The part of me that wanted truth, clarity, dignity, and yes, a little retribution. How? I asked. Danielle folded her arms. I've already tracked their hotel. I know where they're staying. But I don't want to go there to scream or cause a scene. That never ends well. What I do want is to take back the control they stole from us. I leaned back, trying to breathe through the storm inside me. Danielle, what exactly are you proposing? She hesitated just long enough to make my pulse quicken. I'm proposing, she said slowly, that we don't let them decide how this ends. They've been running this narrative behind our backs. Now it's our turn. I stared at her, realization creeping in. You want us to confront them? Not angrily, she said. Not violently. Not publicly. But calmly. Directly. With proof. With composure they don't expect. She swallowed. Cheaters think we'll shatter. They never expect us to stand tall. Her words settled deep in my chest. A calm confrontation. A truth they couldn't twist. A moment they couldn't escape. For the first time in weeks, I felt air returning to my lungs. I nodded slowly. Okay, I'm in. A flicker of relief crossed her face. She rose from the chair, the weight of her decision visible in her shoulders. Their flight is tomorrow morning. If they're still lying by then. She looked straight at me. We'll be ready. I stood as well. Let's end this on our terms. She extended her hand. A silent pact. A promise between two people who deserve better. I shook it. And for the first time since my world started falling apart, I felt steady. Little did I know, the next 48 hours would change everything. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, my mind replayed those photos. Lila leaning into Grant like she belonged to him, her smile brighter than anything I'd seen at home in months. It wasn't just the betrayal that stung. It was the realization that she'd already let go of us long before I even sensed a crack. By morning, my pulse was still racing, but my thoughts were clearer. Danielle and I had made a plan. She'd pick me up at noon, and we'd drive to the coastal town where Lila and Grant were supposed to land from their romantic getaway. Not to scream, not to cause chaos, but to reclaim our dignity and end things with finality. When noon came, Danielle pulled up in a Navy SUV, her posture straight, her eyes focused. She wasn't angry. She was resolute. Grief and strength made a strange but powerful mix in her. As I sat down in the passenger seat, she gave me a brief nod. "You ready?" she asked. "As ready as I'll ever be." She didn't speak during most of the drive. Neither did I. But it wasn't an uncomfortable silence. It was more like a quiet storm building strength. The highway stretched ahead of us, sunlight flickering through the windshield. The kind of day where the world looks calm even when your life isn't. "Finally," she said. "I didn't want revenge at first. I just wanted the truth. But somewhere along the way, I realized the truth doesn't feel complete without closure." I nodded slowly. "Yeah, I know the feeling." Danielle tightened her grip on the steering wheel. "What hurts the most isn't the cheating, it's the acting. The lying to your face every day like nothing's wrong." That hit me harder than I expected. My voice came out low. She used to kiss me goodbye before work, even on days she was meeting him. Danielle's exhale trembled, but she didn't cry. Grant used to text me while he was out with her. Sweet things, loving things. Meanwhile, she paused, swallowing hard. He was building a parallel life. A parallel life. That phrase echoed in my head, because that's exactly what it felt like, two versions of Lila existing at once. One with me, tired and distant. One with him, bright and effortless. As we approached the coast, the air changed. Saltier, warmer, breezier. Seagulls circled above. Tourists walked along the sidewalks, laughing, eating ice cream, living lives untouched by betrayal. When we reached the beachfront hotel lot where their shuttle would drop them off, Danielle parked in a shaded corner. We had time to spare, about an hour. Enough for the anxiety in my stomach to twist itself into knots. I leaned back, trying to steady myself. "What exactly are we saying when they get here?" I asked. Danielle breathed deeply, her voice calm. "Nothing dramatic. We'll let them talk first. They'll lie. They'll scramble. They'll try to twist things." Her jaw tightened, but we stay composed. We show them we know everything. And then, she looked at me. We decide how to walk away. Her calmness made me wonder how long she had been preparing for this. The hour crawled slowly by. Every car that passed made my heart jolt. Every footstep made me look up. My fingers tapped restlessly on my knee. Then Danielle suddenly stiffened. "There," she whispered. A black shuttle pulled in. The doors slid open, and out stepped Grant. Laughing, sunglasses pushed up, arm casually draped around Lila's waist. My breath froze in my lungs. Lila looked different. Not physically, emotionally. She had that glow, that careless ease, the kind someone only has when they're living a lie they think they'll never get caught in. Grant whispered something in her ear, and she laughed, touching his chest with the kind of familiarity that made my jaw clench. Danielle didn't move. I didn't either. We just watched them walk closer, luggage rolling behind them, still wrapped in the bubble of their secret world. Then they saw us. Lila froze mid-step. Grant's smile evaporated, replaced with a stiff, hard swallow. Color drained from Lila's face. "See Cole." Her voice cracked. "What were you doing here?" I rose slowly from the car, steadying my breathing. Waiting. Grant stepped slightly forward, attempting some pathetic imitation of confidence. "Hey man, this isn't what it looks like." Danielle snorted softly, barely audible. "Funny. That's exactly what Grant said the first time I found a photo." His eyes snapped to her, shock rippling through his posture. "Danielle, wait." "No." Her voice was cool, steady, unbothered. "You wait." Lila's eyes darted between us, panic growing. "Cole, please. I can explain." I finally spoke, each word slow, painfully controlled. "Then explain why your wellness retreat. Had you checking into a mountain lodge with someone else's husband. Lila opened her mouth, closed it, then forced a breath. I wasn't happy. You knew that. We were drifting apart. I needed time to think. Danielle crossed her arms. Funny how thinking involves hotel rooms and airport trips, right? Grant rubbed the back of his neck. Look, we didn't mean for this to happen. I cut him off. Don't. Just don't. The ocean breeze whipped between us, cold against my face, but strangely grounding. Lila reached out, as if to touch my arm. I stepped back. She froze midair, her fingers curling slowly into her palm. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then Danielle stepped forward, eyes sharp and unshaken. You two chose lies over honesty, secrets over marriage. That's your right, but we're choosing something else. Grant swallowed. What's that? Danielle glanced at me briefly before answering. Closure. She reached in her bag and pulled out 2 envelopes. Divorce petition she had prepared days earlier. She handed one to Grant. Then she placed the other in my hand. I didn't open it yet. Not because I doubted my decision, but because I wanted to look Lila in the eyes when I said my next words. Lila, this is where we end. Her lip trembled. Cole, please. But the version of me who would have softened, hesitated, begged for honesty. That version died weeks ago. My voice came out steady, almost frighteningly calm. You made your choice long before this moment. Now I'm making mine. Lila's knees buckled slightly, and she grabbed her luggage for balance. Grant looked just as stunned, and none of them realized. This wasn't the end. It was only the beginning of what Danielle and I had planned next. The shock on Lila's face didn't fade, it deepened. She kept blinking as if hoping reality would rearrange itself and give her a softer ending. But real life doesn't soften for those who sharpen their betrayal. Grant stood frozen, looking between the envelope in his hand and Danielle like he was drowning with no idea how he'd ended up in the water. Cole, don't do this, Lila whispered, her voice cracking. We can talk. We can work through this. I shook my head slowly. You had months to talk. You had chances. You chose someone else every time. Her eyes glistened, but I couldn't tell if it was guilt or panic. Maybe both. She reached toward me again. I stepped back again. That small motion broke something in her. Danielle lifted her chin, her voice calm, but razor sharp. You both cheated. You both lied. And now you both get the ending you earned. Grant groaned softly, running a hand through his hair. Danielle, please, this is extreme. No, she said firmly. Extreme would have been screaming at you in public. Extreme would have been dragging this out for months. Extreme would have been letting you keep lying. She took a breath. This is closure. The ocean wind howled for a moment, filling the silence between all 4 of us. Then I turned to Lila and finally said what had been buried inside me since the first night her phone buzzed at 2 a.m. You didn't just break my trust, Lila. You broke the life we built. You broke the version of me who believed you'd never hurt me. I swallowed, steadying my voice. But you didn't break me. Not the person I am now. Her shoulders shook. I made a mistake. You made choices. I corrected. Over and over. She opened her mouth, but no words came out, because there were none left to defend what she'd done. For a moment, nobody moved. Then Danielle stepped closer to me. We're done here, she said softly. She didn't mean it harshly. She meant it as a closing of a chapter neither of us asked to be written. We turned to leave, walking toward the beach path that led to the shoreline. Behind us, I could hear Lila's breathing quicken as panic set in. Cole, she called, voice shaking. Please don't walk away. Don't do this. Please don't do this without talking to me. I didn't turn around. She had already done everything without talking to me. Danielle and I walked until the sound of the ocean drowned out everything else. White foam crashed against the sand. The sky stretched open above us. For the first time in months, the air didn't feel heavy. She glanced at me. Are you okay? I exhaled slowly. Not okay, but lighter. Good, she said softly. You deserve that. We stood there for a while, just letting the waves pull away the weight of what we'd carried. Then, almost hesitantly, Danielle said, There's one more thing. I looked at her. She pulled out her phone. They think they ruined us. They think they broke something. She turned the screen so I could see our reflection in the camera. 2 people hurt, but upright. But what if the message we send them is that we're done being the ones who get blindsided? I understood immediately. A quiet, clean message. Not cruel, not dramatic, Just final. I stepped in a frame beside her as she snapped the photo. Sunlight behind us. Ocean stretching wide. Our expressions calm, steady, unbothered. Then she typed, "We're celebrating closure. Papers are ready." She hit send. That was it. No shouting. No chaos. No revenge that harmed anyone. Just dignity. Just truth. Just the end of their control. As we stood there, watching the waves roll in, I finally felt something I thought I'd lost. Myself.